Bill here with the Metals Minute. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2022. Well, we have a mix for both the weekly and the yearly numbers, with some metals up and some a little bit lower. All the details are in the write-up. A lot of news going on out there as we await inflation reports coming out in just a couple days. But there's other things happening. We have gold being purchased hand over fist, record levels, by central banks around the world as nations and industries try to move away from the dollar sphere and more to the precious metal sphere. So in the gold arena, that seems to be going on. And we have a longer article coming out this week that compares the performance of the stock market to gold and why we may be entering a period where gold is set to outperform just as it did in 2022. So we'll talk more about that later, but we also have some information on silver. When we look at supply and demand for silver, last year in 2022 we had a deficit of 94 million ounces of silver, and that was the second year in a row. So that is building, and that simply means that the demand for silver is outmatched by the supply. In other words, there's more demand than there is supply. So that tends to build over time, and that adds pressure underneath the price of silver. So we may see silver outperform gold in 2023. Stay tuned. We also have some issues going on with platinum. Platinum at the end of 2022, there was 9% less year over year refined platinum produced. And so part of the reason for that is difficulties in the mining sector and the refiners. You know, things that we used to take for granted like power generation, those issues have prevented or slowed down a lot of the platinum processing. And so we have still some of those issues going on in South Africa and different places that platinum is produced. So we'll need to keep an eye on that. One of the most interesting stories that we see coming out this week is Saudi Arabia is announcing a new aspect to their wealth fund. Their sovereign wealth fund is branching out into commodities and mining production. So they're announcing major investments in global mining operations, and they're seeking to participate with various mines, and they're hosting a major mining conference this year. And so we see them beginning to branch away. This is part of their 2030 plan to diversify. They say they're diversifying from oil, but they're also diversifying from dollars. The Sovereign Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia used to just automatically buy U.S. Treasury bills. Now they're moving into other commodities, and they believe, and they're saying that they have $1 trillion worth of resources in the commodity space that's completely undeveloped. So we'll keep an eye on that, but they're talking about base metals, they're talking about copper, they're talking about gold is a portion of that, but most of it has to do with industrial metals and things along that line. And so that should tell us something when we see major oil producers wanting to get into other types of energy production. That maybe tells us a little bit about where we're headed in the future and why there will continue to be an increasing demand for silver, because silver is very effective in the alternative energy usage sphere. And so stay tuned. We're in the right place as precious metals investors here in 2023. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.